Hello, my name is John Trout, and I wanted to take just a few minutes to show all of you backyard gardeners and orchardists what you might be able to do with a few grafting techniques. And what I wanted to show today was the American Persimmon. There's not much on the YouTube channel that I've been able to find about grafting the American Persimmon, and I have grafted several of these. It is wet, wet, wet. And those of you having a dry spring, I know this looks like beautiful weather, and it's hard to complain with moisture, but we've had about 3 months worth in 3 weeks, and it is absolutely soaking wet. Here's a American Persimmon that I grafted last year. Now this is actually growing in a pocket in a reforested area that I've planted over 8 or 9 years ago, and it came up on its own. It was a volunteer American Persimmon seedling, and I thought, well, why not change the variety over to something else. Here's the tongue and groove graft, whip graft, and here's what grew from it. You can see that. It's last year's growth from this tree. Now this spring I've taken all the growth off underneath it, and it's actually a lot of bare trunk down there. I'll have to come through again and strip it again, but as this tree grows up through this canopy, as you can see, it's fully enclosed here. Fully enclosed with trees, but it's got its own little spot, and it should fill it. And someday, when these pines die away, and they will, this persimmon will have its own little place and produce very tasty persimmons. Many of you probably remember persimmon pudding at Grandma's house on Thanksgiving. Unfortunately, I do not remember that. My grandmother never made persimmon pudding, but I was fortunate enough to have some time ago. And I've made a lot of persimmon pudding with native persimmons. Certainly nothing wrong with that. But I thought, why not graft over some better cultivars of persimmon? And so I started doing some tongue and groove grafts. And they've taken, here's a graft that it's going in its 3rd year, and you can kind of see here the line where the tongue, the groove, everything went in. It's about 3 years old. It was put on pretty healthy stock. And this is its 3rd year growing in that location. It's doing very good. This is a variety called Yates. The Yates Persimmon, a very large persimmon. Let's see if that shows. A very large, tasty persimmon, ripens early. About the size of a hen egg. You don't see those often in the wild. But anyway, that's the Yates tree. There's a lot of persimmon cultivars. There's John Rick and Munich, early golden. Oh, the list goes on and on. But by and large, they're large persimmons. Tasty. Some of them are nearly seedless. Some of them don't have the stringiness. They're all astringent, such is the American Persimmon, the way of it, and that does not change until you get some frost. Here's another one that I've grafted, and this probably has no real future, but I thought I had the graft and I wanted to do some practicing, and well, it took. And there's the old line. This was done last year. It's 1 year old. This is all grown from that graft. You can see it there. This is all grown up from that. And it has a hole to fill here in the canopy. Like I said, these pines, they'll die. This is not pine forest, or not a pine forest region here. So this is actually a native persimmon right here behind it that I've just let grow. it's a little too large now to graft over, at least for my taste. You can graft larger persimmons like that, and I've got one out in the orchard that I want to do, but haven't really done it yet. I might do that here in a few days, maybe put it on film. Here's a variety known as John Rick, and that's last year's graft. You can see the tongue, the groove right here where they slid together. Didn't have a whole lot of growth last year. Here's what grew up from that. I've taken the branches off underneath it, except for these two. I grafted them over just last week to the same variety, John Rick. And if they take, I'll have a couple of scaffold branches here. They'll probably be taken off in the future anyway, as the tree grows taller. But, anyway, a backyard of persimmons for tasty persimmon pudding. The cock is crowing out here in the orchard, a very young orchard, I may add. Across the way over there is the ladder and another native persimmon that I'm working over to several different varieties I have grafted on that one. Just having some fun with it. But the bottom line is, grab you a sharp knife, get you a popular persimmon cultivar. There's a number of ways you can acquire the grafts. Best way is through a friend. Or perhaps a club that does such things. And get grafting.